You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curelop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host, Miss Allie Garced. What up, Allie?
What's up, Craig? How are you? Well, I know how you are.
I am doing mentally good, but physically meh. I've got a cold that has kind of gone through our family now, and I was the last one to get it, but it's funny, like Grace, who's my wife, if you don't, who's listening, don't know this. She got sick probably about 3 or 4 days before me, and I was kind of like nursing her and all that. And then unavoidably, I got sick. And I see her, like, I know that she's 3 or 4 days ahead of me, and she's like now, like, still at like only 90%. And I'm like, oh man, I got like at least 4 more days before getting better. So that's my struggle right now is like I can like see the finish line, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like almost every time I travel on an airplane, I get sick. I have to like always make sure to wear a mask because if I do not, I will get sick. Guaranteed. It's so annoying. I like hate traveling now.
Really. Yeah, I don't think for me, I don't think it was I know where it was for me is well, I know we went up to Vermont and we went to the Ben and Jerry's factory, which if you haven't been there, is really cool. And there was a room full of people, a small room full of people, like taste testing the ice cream and all that. And like they were all old. I'm like, oh, one of these people is probably sick. And then sure enough, Grace and my mom got sick, like right at the same time. And then I was like kind of trying to be a good husband and like care for them and good son and like do extra things and be around them.
Yeah.
And then I, of course, got it. So
Dang. I like how you equate old. Oh, they're old. They must be sick.
they must be sick. Yeah.
One of them must be sick.
Yeah. Like it's true, right? But like it's funny how you're like for you it's the airplane. For me, it's the Ben and Jerry's factory. So I don't know if I'm gonna go back there, but I highly recommend you go. Just bring your tissues. It's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of tissues, Craig, speaking of Ben and Jerry's.
Speaking of Ben and Jerry's and tissues, we've got a great guest today, Mrs. Savannah Bass. And oh, guys, at the end of the episode, so she like dropped a bomb on us right after we stopped recording about how she quit her like well into the 6-figure job. Like she was a CFO of like a multi-million-dollar company that she quit because she wanted to get more involved with real estate. And just like hearing that story, like listen to the end. It's like the last 5 minutes is after everything. I think it'll be really, really good. And so if you've got this far, we also want to ask you to please, please, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you're listening. It really helps us tremendously and helps keep this podcast going. So with that being said, let's bring on Miss Savannah Bass. This episode of Investify was brought to you by the FI team, a team of investor-friendly agents that service all 50 states. If you are looking to house hack, to invest, grow your portfolio, and want a true investor-friendly agent on your side, go to thefiteam.com and click Get Started, and we can't wait to have a good conversation with you. Savannah Bass, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you guys?
I am good today. I'm so used to saying like, "How you doing today, dude?" But then you're totally not a dude.
You can call me dude.
I'll call you like
Totally, please
dudette
call
or
me
girl
dude.
or what do you like? What do girls?
Call me anything but ma'am, because I'm not old.
Ma'am, fair enough. But you're in the
That's
South.
It's the worst thing about living in the South. My mom's side is from Canada, and then the rest of them are like Pennsylvania Yankees. So it's such a strange concept to me, the word ma'am. So I like cringe so hard every time somebody calls me ma'am, and it happens every day. And I'm like, I don't have any wrinkles. Why are you calling me ma'am right now?
Should we call you sir?
Yeah, please.
Is that better? Okay.
It's better.
Awesome, Savannah. Okay, well, Savannah, why don't you tell us, where this whole ma'am, when you were saying yes, ma'am, right, before you were a full-blown adult, like where it all started and how you got first heard about financial independence and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I would say probably I was like more exposed to that kind of stuff than a lot of people were. So my mom works in banking. She has my whole life. So she was always like a super cautious person and like teaching me about 401k and all that good stuff at an early age. And then my stepdad, he owns a restaurant. He has a degree in accounting. So I've kind of been exposed to those kind of people growing up. And then when I got to college, I did a bachelor's in accounting. And then I minored in management. I graduated when I was 20. I went way too fast. I kind of regret going so fast. But then right after that, I went into grad school and I did an MBA, and I specialized in entrepreneurship because I wasn't really like a super accounting-y person. I'm not like a introverted in the weeds type of person like most of them are.
A nerd.
So I kind of like, yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like over the years, I've gotten more like outgoing and just kind of creative and that kind of stuff. So I was like, this doesn't really fit my lifestyle anymore. So that's why I wanted to do entrepreneurship. So I finished my master's when I was 22. And at the same time, when I was in grad school, I had a roommate and we were really good friends. And then all of a sudden we weren't.
You say you're not a nerd, but like you finished your master's school by the time you were 22. That is like
Yeah.
total nerd.
I guess overachiever is a better word.
Yeah. You're not getting
overachiever.
You're not getting past us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to interject there.
Yeah.
But so I actually had one really quick, somewhat serious question. Entrepreneurship, a master's of entrepreneurship. Like I've heard time and time again that like, entrepreneurship degrees are, I guess, like, I don't know. They're like, you don't really need them, right? So like, did you find that it was valuable, or do you think you could have just done that on your own starting at age 20?
I think basically what it comes down to is the mindset. So it just gives you the mindset to be better successful in whatever you choose to do. And while I was in my master's program, I had the opportunity to help other people grow their businesses and kind of clean up their businesses. Like if they were kind of underperforming financially or marketing wise, I was able to help. One of the case studies I did, it was a cabinet shop here in Pensacola. And I was on the team. There was a couple of us students that helped them kind of rebrand, get their name out there, get their financials in order. So I got good hands-on training with other businesses before I kind of got out into the world on my own. So I would say I did a ton of paper writing, which wasn't really conducive to learning. More so just hazing, just make you do all this stuff. But I would say it's the experiences like that definitely helped. But that, like, the same time, like when I was finishing grad school was when I first got acquainted with real estate. So when I was 22, I had a roommate. We were best friends, and then we weren't. And we were in a lease together, and I knew we weren't going to renew our lease. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to buy a house because it's just too expensive to rent on your own. And of course, when you're 22, you don't make that much money. So I was working full time at a bank as like a senior accountant at a bank. So, I made decent money, but not like a ton. And this was back in December 2018 when I bought my first house.
Allie, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the
For real
deal.
All right, Savannah, this is the first deal that you ever do as a true investor. And so can you tell us a little bit more about it, as in, what year was it? Where were you at? How did you find it? How did you finance it? All the tea, and we'll dig into it.
Absolutely. So my first deal, I'm talking December 2018. So this was a few years ago. I was 22 years old. I purchased my first home. It is a townhome. It's in Pensacola, Florida, and I used a conventional mortgage, 3% down. And so purchase price was $90,000. It was a rental for a very long time when I bought it. So it was really nasty. Carpet had dog pee all in it. Like everything was like brown wood, just ugly, like 80s. So I had to do like a full gut on my house before I could move in. So I did all the work myself with my parents, and the rehab cost me $40,000 in cash, and that covered the whole interior and the landscaping as well. Like I needed a retaining wall situation outside. I had some like structural stuff I had to fix too. Um, so it's an 1,100 square foot townhome. So $40,000 covered all that, and my PITI on the loan.
Yeah, just curious as to like how you came up with that $40,000, having just coming out of college or still being in college.
Cash.
Cash? You just had that sitting around, just saved?
Yeah. So I actually, after I did all the rehab, I ended up doing a refi on it. So when I first bought the property, this is December 2018, my rate was right at 4%. And then I refied, oh gosh, it was 2020 when everything was getting all, crazy and everybody's getting a good deal. So I refied in 2020 in September of that year for 3.1. So I took that cash back. So I paid myself back from the rehab I did. And my PITI on the loan is like $650 a month now that I don't live there anymore. And it's currently running for $1,500. We had a lot of rentals flood the market this time last year. So September, October of last year, we had a ton of rentals flood the Pensacola market. So that took my market value down from $1,700 a month to like $1,500 a month. But I'm hoping with the way interest rates are and how it's so unfortunate for a lot of people not able to buy, that I could possibly increase my rent back up here soon.
So this is kind of cool. So you basically did like a house hack burr kind of combination, right?
I
Like
call it the weird burr because you're missing an R,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's like
you bought it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are you missing?
So we've got normal burr: buy, rent, rehab, refinance, repeat. But I guess technically I did refinance, but it's like most people like when you're burring, you don't move in, so it's just a little different. But
Yeah. So like when you bought the place, you put the $3,000 down. That's obviously not a lot, like $3,000 or so. And then I'm still, so I know you had that $40,000 cash, but like you had to front the cash right before you refinanced it. So like, did you get a loan from somebody, or did you have that? You just had that available? Like, how did you earn? Like, how are you getting like AP credit, doing all this stuff, getting a master's, then also working to get, save up $40,000 by the time you're 22?
oh yeah, it was insane. My life's always been insane like that. Like I've always been like a workaholic, doing the most. But I did have a pretty good job. I was working at a bank. By that time I had my master's, so I was fairly paid for what I was doing at the time in the accounting department at the bank. But yes, I did have that in cash, so I was able to just pour that into the house and then refi later.
That's amazing.
And how did you feel comfortable I mean, I guess you pretty much had no choice, right? Because you said
I had no choice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you had no choice but to get into a property that was a fixer upper, where pretty much you had to put like 50% of what the house was worth into just fixing it up. But there is some still like there are some hesitations still, I'm sure, especially being your first property and you had structural issues, like not just cat like dog pee, but you had
Not like the backyard was like falling apart. Like all my dirt was washing away, so I had to build a retaining wall to like keep it together. But the house
Okay.
itself was fine. It was just like the yard in the back was just a mess.
How many did you? I want to talk about inspections, being that this was your first
Mhm.
purchase and it was, a fixer upper, a big time fixer upper. What type of inspections did you do? What were like some of your lessons learned there?
So I just did the normal home inspection, 4-point limit. there really wasn't any findings on that property. It had a new roof. The HVAC wasn't terribly old. Water heater wasn't old. The only thing I really had to deal with before I actually closed on the property to make my lender happy and get insurance was I had a polybutylene pipe. My house was built in 84 and that stuff was rampant down here in the 80s, so I had to get rid of that before we could close. But that was really the only like major deal was the polybutylene.
And you are a real estate agent now. At what point did you get your license?
So I'm actually going on year 2 of real estate agency. So I just wrapped up my first year. So I became a realtor last summer. And so I'm a newer realtor, but I feel like I've gotten a lot done this past year just because I started so long ago, like learning all this stuff. And I think that really put me like ahead of all the other new realtors that kind of struggle. I really didn't have a period where I struggled or needed to ask anybody for help because I felt like I was pretty knowledgeable.
Real curious, Savannah, like just going back to that first deal real quick. You said you refinanced it out, right? And you pulled all your money back out. So like, what was that property then worth after during that refinance?
So back in 2020, when I refied, it was worth like 160.
Wow.
And right now it's worth about 180.
Okay. So I just want to like give you like a quick recap on like how powerful real estate is, right? Because I love hearing these stories of like the 5 years later. It's like you bought the thing in 2018, end of 2018, practically 2019, for for 90,000. You put 40 into it, so now you're all in for 130. It's now worth 160, so you're able to refinance, get the PMI off, yada yada yada. Maybe even put a little bit of cash out. It's now appreciated 20 more grand with you just sitting on it. It's cash flowing you. It sounds like $900 a month, right? And so it's like, holy crap! You're like you got $800 a month times that by 12. You're looking at about $10,000 a year. You're getting richer just from the cash flow. You've gotten almost 100 grand richer from the appreciation. You got the loan pay down. You got the taxes, and like this $90,000 purchase has contributed to like probably $200,000 close to your actual net worth growing in just a 5 year period. Like that is insane. And it's like in the deal, I suspect wasn't like this home run deal that only you could find because you're Savannah Bass and you're an AP college student. Yada, yada, yada. Like anyone could do this. And so I just want to say like, yeah, like it's just incredible what you've done, but also it's also extremely like normal. And if you're listening to this, you could literally start today and 5 years from now in 2028, you could be sitting right where Savannah's sitting.
I do, and I try to tell my first time buyer clients this all the time. I try to share my story as much as I can so I can hopefully have that light bulb moment with them, especially because everybody's still not over the fact that rates have gone up so much in such a short period of time, and a lot of people aren't understanding why and how the past couple of years we had were not normal and they'll probably never happen again. So I try to tell people like if you want to get a deal, like you're gonna have to put in the work like I did. Otherwise, you're buying something, fully fixed up and there's no equity there for you unless you just sit on it for a few years. So I definitely try to teach people about forced appreciation and, just putting in some work to make something your own and get a really good deal out of it.
Love it. I love it. Awesome. And so what happens after you did your first one? So like what are you doing next? Like and what time was that? Like when did you refinance? When would you say like you put the seal of approval on that first one?
So I did the refi September 2020 and I continued to live there for another year. So then fast forward to December of 2021 is when I bought the next property that I intend on doing that with. So that's the house I'm sitting in right this second. So I actually bought the next one off of Facebook Marketplace. I I was in a wholesaling mastermind at the time, and the task for that week was to go onto Facebook and look for a fixer upper and make an offer on it. Well, I kind of got more than I bargained for because I wasn't intending on actually moving into a house, but that's just what ended up happening and that's what fell in my lap. So I found this house. It's actually one neighborhood over from the townhouse. That's the rental now. So I'm like just a couple streets over. And it was an older couple. The husband had just passed away, and she was moving out to live with her son. And it was just it's a 2008 build, so there's nothing like wrong with it. It was just kind of ugly, you know. So I offered them 200,000 for it. It was worth about 215. So I did actually an FHA loan on this one. So I put 3.5% down, and my monthly payment on this one is 1,100 a month. I put about 10,000 into it. I did all the work myself again. This time it was just cosmetic, so it only needed paint, flooring. I painted the cabinets and I epoxied the countertops because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do the most on this one like I adjusted with the other one. So I'm here camped out for now. But this one is worth about 1,700 in rent as well, maybe a little more because it has a garage. So my plan is to move out of here eventually and rent this one out too.
That is so cool. I love that homework assignment. How many offers did you make on Facebook Marketplace before you found that one?
I made probably about 4 or 5 that week, on just things that I intended to wholesale. But then when I found this one, I was just like, wow, like I really like this one. And I had been wanting to move. I just felt like I outgrew my townhome. Even though it was just me and it was 2 bedrooms, I just felt like I needed more space. So it was just like really good timing. I actually I had bought a piece of land earlier that year that I was going to build a house on. And I still own that piece of land, and I seller finance it actually. So we can get into that here in a second. But I ended up not building and financing the land and choosing this house instead.
Yeah. Did you time frame? Did you represent yourself on this one as an agent, or were you not licensed yet?
I wasn't licensed yet, but I still drove the ship, just
Yeah.
because I felt comfortable enough in my first purchase that I could just do it. And everything went just fine, contract wise, inspections, getting us to the closing table. So we both went in unrepresented, and I just kind of helped both of us get through the transaction.
That's cool. And so from the day that you started that conversation on Facebook Marketplace
Mm-hmm.
to the seller, what was the time frame like before you ended up closing on that?
So I made a kitchen table offer actually. We sat down right then and there and wrote it up, and then the lender that did my loan I actually worked for, and even though it was an FHA, I harassed them to get it done in 2 weeks, and they did. So I was
Well,
just like a complete menace, and they closed it for me in 2 weeks because I worked there. So yeah, it was just like 2 weeks. It was really fast. Nothing went wrong with that one at all.
That's crazy. That's amazing. And so that was your second property. You still were able to do the 3.5% down. How are you able to how did that conversation go with the seller? Like how could you, and you said there's a seller finance piece as well, right? Like, can you talk to us? How do you,
That's the next property, but yeah.
oh, that's the next one. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about how that conversation would go with the seller if someone did want to reach out direct to seller? And then also like how you might have gone through it without representation, right? I always think like I mean, as a buyer, you're not really paying anything, so it like doesn't hurt you to be represented. But like, why did you go unrepresented? And then, yeah, what was like, how did you know what to do next?
So I don't know. I think it was kind of like me in real estate has kind of been like a fish to water situation where I've just always felt comfortable with contracts. And I had been in a wholesaling mastermind at this point for several months. So we had contracts available to us. So I didn't use the Florida bar contract, because I wasn't a realtor yet, but I just had a simple purchase agreement, and we worked off of that. And it was attractive to them that they didn't have to pay any commission. And I think probably what made them choose to sell to me over somebody that would give them 15,000 more, because it was worth 215 all day long, but I paid 200. I think it really just like helped that I came in and was like really like listening to them, and they were actually, that day I came, they were packing up all their things and like, getting ready to move, and I was willing to help them out with that kind of stuff, and just be a friend. And I think they really appreciated that. So I think that really goes a long way, especially like if you're dealing with off-market sellers and you're trying to wholesale or get a deal for yourself. You really have to just be there to like support them because that's what they need.
Yeah, I mean, we hear this time and time again, right? Real estate is a relationship business. Like you may look like you're buying and selling homes, may look like you're flipping, but like really you got to be helping people out. You got to have their best interest in mind, and that's typically how you get the win-win situations where you make some decent money as well as and you feel good about making the money. I think that's a big part of it. But they're also very happy and like pleased with the transaction, right? Like I hate going through a transaction where like the seller feels like they won and the buyers feel like they lost, or there's some sort of spite or animosity at the closing table. Like that should be like a happy thing. So, okay, so you got these two, Savannah, and like, are you like at this time, like, what are your dad's an entrepreneur, a restaurant person, right? Your mom, I can't remember what you said, but it sounds like
She's in
you grew up,
banking.
she's in banking. And so like they see you taking these risks in real estate, which isn't quite the same. What are their thoughts?
So of course, all parents are like this. They're kind of apprehensive at first. But they've always been so supportive of me, and they're actually like, after I've been in this for like a few years now, and especially with me going on year 2 as a realtor, and they see me now like actually flipping houses, and they're all massive projects. They are now kind of bit by the bug through me, and they're wanting to flip houses too, which is so exciting.
Oh, cool. I also want to get into this seller financing. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So a couple months before I bought the house I'm in now, I actually bought a piece of land. So it is the last lot. It's in a really big neighborhood. It's the very last lot. And it's an older neighborhood, but it's like a really nice, it's like a A-rated neighborhood. So large homes in there, very well kept. And I thought I wanted to build. And that was my intention. So I bought this lot for $25,000, and it actually had wetlands on it. So I had a lot of work to do on the permitting. And I feel like I never wanted to be an expert on wetlands and permitting, but as a result of buying that piece of land now, I know a lot of like randomness about that, and I'm able to help, my buyers with that kind of stuff. But I put 10,000 into permitting, and my timeline with that piece of land got really messed up, which is how this house I'm in even happened. So whenever I bought the land, the permitting people told me it was going to be like a year, probably 6 months to a year to get everything approved. And it only took like 3 months actually. So my plan then was to live in this house for a year and, fix it up and then move out, turn it into a rental. And then by the time I was done with that, then I'd be ready to build on the land. But the permitting happened so fast that it just really messed up my timeline. And after a while, I just kind of decided I don't really want to build there anymore, but I still want to be able to make this a cash generating asset for me. So I actually ended up selling it to the next door neighbor, and they're going to build another house on my land. So my monthly payment on that land is $230. And I'm seller financing it to them for 30 months for $1166 a month.
Wow. Well, you're arbitraging it. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Whoa, I never like
Dang.
thought of that, but that's genius.
Yeah, I kind of accidentally got there, but yeah, no, it's definitely a good buy for sure.
We hope this episode is inspiring you to take action. If you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent or an agent who wants to join an investor-friendly team, just hit me up on Instagram at the Fi Guy, because we are growing our team in Denver, Seattle, San Diego, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but also adding to our network in all 50 states. And if you didn't already know this, the FI team provides a super supportive environment with one-on-one coaching, accountability, and ongoing training to help develop kick-ass, rock-star, investor-friendly real estate agents. So hit me up on Instagram at the FI Guy, shoot me a DM, and we'll set up a time to chat. Can't wait to chat with you.
How did you buy the land? How did you get a loan for the land? Because I know a lot of banks, if you get a loan on the land, like they kind of require you to build on it, right?
So, okay, this is kind of off the record. This
If
is
you don't want
not.
to say it, you don't have
No,
to.
I can. It's just not.
Okay.
You can't really like use this as good advice, but this is just what I did. So whenever I refied the first house and I got my cash back, instead of paying myself back for that $40,000 rehab, I purchased that piece of land for $25,000. And this is basically the lenders, like, yes, you have to tell them what you're using that cash for when you refi. And I told my lender, like, he was my friend. I was like, Sean, I'm buying a piece of land. He's like, oh, okay, you didn't tell me that. So they definitely, yeah, they don't want you doing that. There are people that offer land loans, and yes, they do make you build within a certain amount of time. Usually it's about 2 years. But yeah, I just said I was taking my cash back for, personal reasons, and then I bought the land.
Okay, gotcha. So maybe if you got a cool lender, you can make that work. Otherwise, it's. I mean, if you did
It's
it,
frowned
obviously, I'm
upon,
sure
for
it's.
sure.
Yeah, it's yeah, totally. Well, I think that's somewhat genius, right? But that could be something that you do, like if you like, even if you got a HELOC on, like, if you got a few properties, you got some equity, you can take a HELOC out on your property, buy a $50,000 piece of land somewhere, lease it to somebody on maybe slightly better terms, or like than a typical like hard money loan would be, and just say, hey, just like, I'll seller finance this land to you for 3 years and pay me off. And like, I don't know, that I'm going to look into that. That's really cool. I never thought of that.
Especially, I don't really hear anybody talking about that, but especially now that affordability is getting tight for people and qualifying for loans is getting even harder. There are a lot of people in this world that will need our help to get into a home or to be able to build. So that's definitely something we can be offering these people that might not be able to qualify in a traditional conforming loan, but they might be able to work something out with us through a seller financing deal for sure.
Okay. You're proving to yourself through this episode that you totally deserve to graduate college at 20 and have all those AP classes. So it's not just a show. So how many properties do you have now, today, as in the end of 2023?
So I have the 2 houses, and then I have the piece of land, and I have a massive home that I'm fix and flipping. So technically I have 4 right now.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about like the fix and flipping. What motivated you to get into that business, especially in a time of high interest rates and contracting costs being high and houses aren't moving slower than ever? Like, you're a smart girl, so I know you got something up your sleeve.
Yeah, so I would say here in our market in Pensacola, I don't think we're being hit as hard as other places. There are definitely still those houses that get multiple offers on the first date, and then there are some that do sit just like anywhere else. There are certain parts of town that I'm avoiding as a result, that I'm seeing sit, for a month or so on the market, and that's not really something that I'm looking to flip, just because with a flip you're trying to move it quickly. But the area of town I'm in, they actually just built a massive hospital that opened a month ago, and it's right down the street. And it is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,500 square foot. So I'm trying to turn it into something that might be attractive to a doctor or nurse that wants to live near the hospital. I actually bought this one off the MLS. I know, like, there's not a good deals on the MLS, but a lot of the wholesalers in this area are just bringing me terrible deals lately. But I saw an opportunity in this home, so I bought it for $177,000. The rehab is $100,000 because I'm actually partnered with my GC. We're gonna split the profit at the end, so he's giving me the rehab at cost, which is it's a win-win for both of us, because then he has incentive to get it done super fast because neither of us are getting paid until we sell it. If I weren't to have done that at cost, it would probably be more like 140 on the rehab. But I'm right at 100. And I used Kiavi for the loan. They were awesome through the whole process. I know it can be hit or miss with them, but everybody I had on my team was awesome. My appraisal came back at 406 on the ARV. But I'm just with the market right now, and I'm going to be listing it in December. I'm looking to probably sell it for like 370 just so I can get it sold fast.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, that sounds like it's a great win-win. So how did you have that conversation with your contractor? And like, I mean, it sounds like you haven't done a whole lot of deals with him. Like, how do you have that trust with him as well?
So I have done some deals with him I have clients that live out of state, through my realtor hat of things. I have some clients that are flipping houses in this area where I manage their flips. So I'm currently managing 4 other people's flips and then my own. So he's doing all 5 of these houses. And he's worked with some other agents, my friends and other people on my team down here. So he's been somebody I've known for a while, and he's put out good work for them. So I felt comfortable working with him on all these flips.
That's one of the perks about being a real estate agent, right? It's like, I feel like we just know everybody. Like, we know the best property managers, we know the best contractors, we know the best everybody. We've like, as investors too, we've tested them ourselves, but like, even when they stop working, because we all know this is a revolving door, and a contractor great today will be trash tomorrow. But like, we can keeping them honest and keeping them in our system through referrals with our clients and stuff like that. So another reason to get your license.
But yeah, so I basically, like, he's an up and coming GC. He hasn't. This is his first time handling this many projects at once. And since we're partnered on this big one, this is actually the biggest project we have going. Well, really, I mean, all of them except for one are like $100,000 rehabs. They're all major rehabs. But since we've been working together so closely on this one, I've actually I'm investing back in him, and I'm helping him grow his business. So the past 2 weeks or so, I've actually become like his part-time CFO, and I'm helping him get his books in order and learn to set up job costing and be able to track like profitability on each of the jobs, and help him like get a VA to run some of like the scheduling and all that. So I'm investing back in him so that we can gain more traction and really scale what we're doing. So this year we'll have 5 flips done between what I have going and what clients have going. I'd like to double that next year. So I would like to get at least 10 done. So if I can help him spend the next couple of months as we finish up the year, like really getting ready for next year and having everything systems wise really clean on his end, I think I'll be set up to better be able to do at least 10 next year is my goal.
Amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you're crushing it for sure. And I guess one more thing with this this partnership that you have, did you set that up at all, like officially, like as a JV, or?
I would definitely recommend doing that. There's a couple ways you can do it. So you can either do it as a JV, or you can do it as forming an LLC together. But I would always recommend doing a JV agreement for each property you do with somebody, just in case something goes badly. If you're tied to somebody on an LLC and everything's fine and then they're not fine, that's really going to be a mess for you guys to finish out the jobs you have and kind of dissolve your partnership. I've just seen bad things happen to other people, so I would always recommend just doing a JV agreement and just resetting it and doing a new one for each property.
Gotcha. Awesome, Savannah. So you mentioned like, your next thing is like, you're really gonna want to like double down on this partnership with the contractor. Like, where do you think you're gonna see yourself in? I mean, you started 5 years ago, so let's say 5 years from now. Like, give us like, if everything's going to plan, where do you want to be?
So a big part of why I'm focusing on flips right now is just so I can generate enough cash to get more rentals, especially because the rates are higher that we've seen in the past couple of years, and I know it's getting harder to find ones that are going to cash flow every month. So I'm trying to stockpile right now on cash so that I can more easily be able to buy rentals here in the future. So I would like to be able to live 5 years from now. I would like to be able to live fully passively. Right now, I'm just a single person living alone in a 3-bedroom house, but I know it won't be like that forever, and my expenses are, going to go up as I start a family and all that jazz. But that's kind of where my goal is, but passive in 5 years.
Okay, 2 questions. Are you not renting out your rooms? You're talking to the house hack guy here.
So yeah, so I have, one room is this office that I'm sitting in, and then the other one is a gym. So my house is, even though it's just me, it's full, but I'm not super like willing to have another roommate, just because in college it was awful, and then in grad school it turned awful. So I don't want to do that again. And like I'm like 28 now, so I just feel like I'm like past that, and I've lived alone for 6 years, so I feel like just resetting and like having to deal with that would just be not fun.
I love that. I mean, yeah, you're kind of, the house is hacked, but it's all you. That's, you're not paying for gym membership, you're not paying for an office space. So, okay. And then my second question is, like, as a woman that is like pretty successful, going to be more successful, that's single, like, what does it look like?
Well, not single, but
Oh,
not married.
okay. Oh, you've got a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I guess, like, maybe if you put on your single hat for all of my single ladies out there, like, how do you find someone that is like kind of on the same page? That's maybe like, do you care to have them be a little ahead of you or a little behind them? Because I just know of a couple single girls that I know that are very successful, and they're looking for men that are even more successful than them. And it's like, that's hard to do when you've achieved such a tremendous amount of success at such a young age.
I'm glad you asked that. So it's actually been a nightmare trying to date. So I've been not single for like a month. So I have a new boyfriend. He's a financial advisor. So we're in like similar paths. But yeah, he's actually very excited to start flipping with me, and he wants to, the next one I do, he wants to partner with me on it. But yeah, no, guys have been absolutely terrified of me like this whole time. Like trying to date, they're like, nope. They're like, she's successful, she has her life together, like they're like, nope, I'm not doing that. So like a lot of them are just like, they don't like to feel like they're not like as good as like what you're doing, or they don't like to feel like inferior, which I don't see it that way at all. It's just, yeah, it's been hard. I think the one I have is a good one, but yeah, no, it sucks really bad. And the dating pool here in Pensacola definitely isn't good. So
Yeah. So I guess just for the one more question for the single ladies out there, how did you meet this guy? And like, is it replicable?
so I actually met him through networking, and when I met him, there was no intention to like date him or anything. We just like went on a coffee date to see how we could like help each other's businesses grow, and then we realized we had a lot in common, and it just kind of went from there. So I would recommend, like, the apps are stupid, so don't get on them. Just kind of get out there and like go to networking events, go to other real estate meetups, and try to meet people that are just like you.
I will say you had no intention of it being anything more, but I bet you
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
I'm a guy. I would totally have someone like meet someone that I had a crush on and be like, yeah, let's just go for a coffee date and chat business. And then you don't chat business. Yeah. Anyway, okay, cool. Well, Savannah, thanks so much for, I think it's obviously like real estate's really important, but like we have to remember that no one here is like getting into real estate because they just like genuinely love it. It's usually like what real estate can do for you is why people are in it, right? Like if real estate didn't make you any money and you made $25,000 a year doing it, you probably wouldn't do it, right? And I think honestly, anyone listening to this would probably agree. And so, I always like to kind of get in a little bit more and learn a little bit more about you as like a person as well. All right. I feel like it's about time for the final part of our show. But before we get there, Savannah, we want to ask you one last question. Well, one last question is, are there any parting words of wisdom you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I would say definitely just get out there. I think I would have started flipping houses a long time ago if I didn't like get analysis paralysis and like stand in my own way. So definitely just like, if you like a house and it passes the vibe check and the numbers look good, definitely like start having those conversations with hard money lenders now, or try to secure some private money so that you know what to expect and kind of how the process works, so that when you find the right house, you're ready, because they go so fast. You have to be able to make a decision quickly, and like I don't want you to get stuck and get nowhere because you're too scared to do it. So definitely get out there. Anybody that is interested in flipping the panhandle, or anybody that is just just trying to get started in some way in real estate here in the Panhandle, please reach out to me. I can help you in, most of the Panhandle I can serve you in. But yeah, if you feel like you need a friend to help you through this, or you just don't know what to do, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. And if you listen all the way to the end, Savannah is going to give you how you can reach out. But until we get there, it is time for the final
four.
But
She's laughing at us, Craig.
yeah, that's good.
Typical.
Good. Typical us.
Starting with question number 1. Savannah, what book are you reading currently?
So I'm actually not a good reader. I'm a read the shampoo bottle in the shower kind of girl. I think I have PTSD from like being in school for so long and being forced to read stuff. So reading for me is not something I sit down and naturally do. But the next book I would like to read is Never Split the Difference, by Chris Voss. I know that's a really popular one, but I definitely feel like buttoning up my negotiation skills is something I would like to be able to do. So that will be the next one that I read.
That's a really good one. That book, I think, has given me like tens of thousands of dollars easily, just the skills in that book. So it's worth the read for sure. Savannah, question number 2. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say probably don't take advice from people that know less than you do about a subject. So I think that's kind of what held me back for a long time, is like listening to everybody else like doom and gloom about, oh, don't do that, like real estate's not a good investment. Like these people, like, if it's your uncle that bought a house in the 80s and hasn't bought anything since then, like why should you be listening to him? Like just go out and ask people that are currently in the market and doing what you want to do. So I definitely just tune out the noise. And if it's something you want to do, just go for it.
I will say my uncle, just because you said that exact example, my uncle had 16 units in the 80s, and he's from Massachusetts.
Then maybe listen to him.
No. Listen. So he bought all these properties in the 80s, right? And he's had so much trouble. He bought them for like 25 grand each. He had like 16 units. And I think it was like 5 or 6 properties. And those properties are all worth now in 2023, all over $1 million.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm like mad at you for selling. Like, I know I wasn't around, but like I'm mad at you for that.
Yeah. But there are definitely people in this world that will poo-poo on your parade and like tell you what you want to do is not a good idea, but definitely don't listen. Like if you want to do it, just do it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I love that.
Question number 3. What is your why?
I think I really just like love helping people. There's actually, I wish I could find this picture. There's a picture of me. I'm like 2 or 3 years old. I'm actually sitting on the toilet, like potty training, and I have a real estate magazine in my hand. So I think I've always been like interested in real estate. And I like helping people. So that's probably how I like became to be a realtor. I get to do normal realtor stuff, like help people find their first home, or help somebody sell something. But that's a big part of why I got into managing flips for other people, is I truly enjoy like making something out of nothing. And it's so fun to me to like bring these houses back to life and help other people do it. So yeah, my why is just helping people for sure.
I love it. Savannah, if you were to be banned from your local library, what would be the reason?
Probably being too loud, or being annoying, honestly.
Or not returning the books.
Oh, I actually did. I did steal a book from the University of West Florida when I was an undergrad.
The dean listens to this podcast.
I was trying to learn how to speak Russian when I was in college, and I never turned that book back in, and I still got to graduate somehow. But yes, I did steal from the library, and I'm so sorry, University of West Florida.
Yeah.
They
You
probably
should still-
charged you like extra tuition or something. They probably got their money somehow.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
For
sure.
sure.
Awesome. Savannah, where can people find out more about you if they did want to reach out or anything like that?
I would say probably the two best places are Facebook or just text me. So I'm such an old person. I have an Instagram, but I'm never on there. So you can find me at facebook.com/Savannah Bass Realtor, or you can just text me. I'll totally answer you. My number is 850-776-3498. But yeah, I get like so caught up on taking action and like, dealing with my flips every day and making sure clients are taken care of, that I'm not the best at, especially Instagram, going on there. So Facebook or text is definitely the best.
Amazing. Awesome, Savannah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I thought it was super inspiring, and clearly you
Thank
got a
you.
lot going for you. So I'm excited to see, where, to continue to follow your story. And yeah, make sure you reach out to Savannah if you got any questions. She was generous enough to give her actual number out on here, one of the very few to ever do that. So,
Yeah.
Savannah, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for being generous with your time, and looking forward to being in touch in the future.
Thank you for having me. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming on, Savannah.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
All right, Savannah, you just dropped a bomb on us like right after we stopped recording. So we had to throw this back in. You just told us that you just a month ago quit your $100,000 plus W-2 job to go full-time in real estate. First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second off, why the heck did you do that?
So my day job, I was actually a chief financial officer. You heard me talk about how I zoomed through college, zoomed through grad school. When I was 24 years old, I became a CFO. I actually was working for a company that built boats here in Pensacola. When I got there, we were making $17 million a year. I was there for 3 years. We grew it to $27 million a year. I just wasn't feeling like challenged and didn't feel like I had a purpose. So yeah, I mean, I left my day job. I didn't feel like I was able to commit to my clients as much as I wanted to, and it was hard to deal with all these like flips at one time, because when I quit my day job, I had 4 going. I have 5 now, but it was just a lot, like working all day. They were hostile about real estate. They didn't like it. So they definitely made it an uphill battle to do anything. So it was hard, like working all day, and then at night having to tend to clients and analyze deals and show houses and all that fun stuff and manage the flips. And I just, my day job did make me happy. So I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. So I quit, and here I am jumping into real estate full time. So I've definitely I feel like I'm so much more productive and happier since I made the jump, for sure.
That's amazing. I think I always say when your W-2 job is getting in the way of your actual your side hustles, that's when it's time to quit.
And I felt so stunted in my growth. I didn't have any time to better myself or learn or anything like that. So I was like, I don't feel like I'm becoming a better person by staying here. So I was like, it's definitely time to go when you feel like that, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I already talked about your parents, but I want to talk about them again. What did they think about that? Because there's some bragging to say that your 24-year-old daughter is a CFO of a $17 million company, and then now she's a real estate agent flipping houses, right? There's definitely some, what did they think, or what did your friends think?
They're actually very supportive. They knew I just wasn't happy and wasn't growing, so I'm definitely glad that they were supportive, because I know a lot of people's parents just aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been very fortunate, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a perk of being somewhat good in school. That it's you don't really see it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they always trusted me. I was never the kid where they had to tell me to do my homework or go to bed or anything like that. I always just did it. So they've just trusted me that I was just going to figure it out.
Yeah, like if you can show that you can get a good GPA, show that you can be responsible, show that you're like a good person, they'll just like, yeah, they'll trust you even when they're like, okay, even when the decisions feel really big
That's
like that.
exactly right. Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
cool.
Dang.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just want to say congrats on making that big switch because it's not easy.
Thank you. No, it's not.
At the end of the day, you made that company an extra $10 million and you might have been getting paid 100, 150 or whatever.
Yeah, it just wasn't fun like lining somebody else's pocketbook and not my own or other people's that I want to help, you know. So I'm definitely glad I did it for sure.
Now you're about to light up your clients' pocketbooks even more by, helping. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. That's the plan because like I have a goal of I would like to be able to do, 5 to 10 flips of my own next year, but then my clients want to be able to do that as well. So I definitely am hoping that I have a very busy year next year. And I'm hoping there are more people that want to invest in this area just like I do.
Yeah. Shoot, I might.
There you go, making things happen. Savannah, thanks so much for kind of hopping on here for the last little bit. Obviously, we wanted to share all of this with our listeners because I think that's a massive jump that people are hard to take.
Yeah, and I think it's important for anybody that might be on the fence to just if this helps you in any way, like that's exactly why I wanted to mention it because like you can do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Savannah. Well, thanks again for coming on, giving us even more of your time, and we'll say one final goodbye here. So, Savannah, thanks again so much for coming on, and so good to hear your story, and so appreciate kind of getting to know you a little bit.
Thank you guys, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. And that was Savannah Bass. Allie, what'd you think of Savannah?
Almost during the entire episode, I was thinking of this movie. Have you seen the movie? Oh my gosh. Oh, wait, shoot. I forget the name of the movie. Anyway, essentially like a Baby Genius movie. Maybe that's what it's called. I don't remember.
Baby Geniuses?
Baby Genius, is that what it's called?
There's a movie called Baby Geniuses, yeah.
Okay, I think that might be it. She's a genius.
Yeah.
And like just the amount of work that she puts into everything that she does, effort that she puts into everything that she does, graduating undergrad before she could even drink legally. And it's just it definitely shows how with the amount of work is correlated to how well you will do, a smart work, not just like working hard work. So I really am so curious to see like how far she's going to go because she's already gotten this far, already at such a young age and leaving a CFO job to become a full-time real estate agent and flipper, help out her clients. So she left her phone number, hit her up, text her.
Yeah, seriously. What's really funny is like if you were to not hear her voice or see her face, you would think that she was in her mid to late 30s, like just by her, she has a master's degree. She was CFO of a multimillion-dollar company. Now she's a realtor doing a bunch of flips. I'm just like, how did you fit it all in? But like that just sounds like who she is. And so it's incredible to see how young she is and how successful she's been. And yeah.
Yes. So if you're looking for a fix and flip, if you want to invest out in the Pensacola area, hit her up. I wrote down her number, so just in case you miss it the first time, it's 850-776-3498.
Yeah, hit her up. I think it'd be really funny for her to get a whole bunch of texts from this podcast. And let's teach her a lesson to never give her phone out on podcasts again. So hit her up, text her, just say, hey, heard you on Investify, and just wanted to say hi or like catch up. Yeah, let's make that happen. And if you guys want a little bit more of Savannah, remember that we've got this last little tidbit at the end here where she talks about her quitting her W-2 job. That was, again, like making well into the six figures. So thank you guys all again for listening. If you haven't already, please leave us that rating and review. It would be much appreciated. And of course, you can find me on Instagram. I'm at the Fi Guy, and Allie is
Allie the Agent, spelled A-L-I.
All right. We will talk to you soon and see you all next week.
See ya.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.